Most men wake up each day and step into a cycle they did not consciously choose. The alarm rings, they hit snooze. The phone lights up, they scroll. Coffee is poured, not as a ritual of power, but as a sedative for the soul. And so, day after day, their life becomes an unconscious repetition of yesterday. But there's a truth hidden in plain sight. You are not trapped by your entire life at once. You are trapped by patterns, and patterns are nothing more than habits repeated over time. This means the gap between the man you are and the man you could become is not a mountain. It is a single, deliberate habit away. Think of a great building. It does not rise because someone decides one day to create a skyscraper. It rises because one brick is laid perfectly, then another, until height becomes inevitable. Your habit is that brick, not 1,000 habits, not a new identity. Overnight. Just one deliberate action done every single day until it becomes the unshakable foundation upon which the rest of your life will be built. Napoleon-Hill called it definiteness of purpose, the ability to choose a single target and aim all your energy toward it. But even definiteness means nothing without a structure to sustain it. That structure is your habit. The world sells you the lie that you must transform everything at once. New diet, new workout, new morning routine, new mindset, all starting Monday. This lie destroys more men than failure ever will. Because when you try to change everything, you change nothing. You scatter your focus so thin that no part of you gains enough energy to break free from mediocrity. The truth is simpler, sharper, and more dangerous. Pick one habit, one action, one decision that, if repeated daily, will force your life to change. This is the law of the pivot. Just as a single hinge can swing open a massive door, a single habit can unlock a life that once felt impossible. Now, you might doubt. This, you might say, how can one habit change everything? But look at the men who have bent history. Benjamin Franklin started his day with a simple question. What good shall I do today? That single question framed every action he took and turned his mornings into a launch pad for decades of impact. Thomas Edison committed to experimenting daily, no matter the failures, and in doing so, he made failure irrelevant. Napoleon-Hill himself devoted every single day to studying the principles of success, not just occasionally, but relentlessly, until they became the marrow of his mind. None of these men changed everything at once. They changed one thing, and that one thing changed them. Imagine for a moment your life as a great wheel. Right now, it spins in a certain direction, powered by the momentum of your current habits. If those habits are weak, the wheel spins toward mediocrity. But the moment you insert one powerful, intentional habit into that wheel, you create friction. At first, it feels unnatural. You resist it. Your mind tells you to go back to what's comfortable. But if you push through the resistance, that single habit will begin to change the wheel's direction. Slowly at first, then faster, until your life moves toward a destiny you once thought was reserved for other men. But here's where most men fail. They underestimate the force of the old wheel. They think starting the habit is enough. It's not. Starting is easy. Protecting it is where greatness is born. Your first week will feel good. You'll be proud. You'll feel like a new man. But pride is not discipline. The pride will fade. The days will get busy. You'll be tired. And the habit will seem less urgent. This is the point where the average man falls. He says, I'll skip just this once. And with that single decision, the chain breaks. The disciplined monster, the man who will never go back to average, sees this moment differently. He knows that each time he completes the habit, he is keeping a promise to himself. Each completion is a deposit into the bank of self-respect. Each broken promise is a withdrawal. And self-respect is the most valuable currency a man can own. Without it, no wealth, no status, no achievement matters. With it, a man can rebuild his entire life from nothing. If you were to examine the lives of men who have transformed completely, you would find the same pattern. The habit comes first, the identity comes second. The man who runs every morning is not disciplined because he runs. He runs because he decided to become disciplined, and the run is the ritual that reinforces that decision. The writer who produces pages daily is not a genius because he writes. He writes because his habit demands it, and through that demand, genius emerges. Now, I want you to consider your own life. Strip away the noise, the endless lists of things you should do. Forget the fantasy of changing 10 things at once. Ask yourself, if I could only choose one habit, one that I would execute every single day without fail for the next year, which habit would make the rest of my life easier or unnecessary to fix? The answer to that question is the seed. And a seed, when planted in the right soil and protected from harm, will always grow. In this first stage, you are not building the entire tree. You are not even growing the roots fully yet. You are simply planting with intention. But here is where the mind plays its first trick on you. Because the change is small, it will seem insignificant. You will be tempted to think it's not working. But understand this, the most powerful forces in nature begin invisibly. The sun does not rise instantly. It pushes the darkness back a fraction of an inch at a time until the world is flooded with light. Your habit will work the same way. And when you begin, you will face a choice every single day. Protect the habit or destroy it. There is no middle ground. You will either feed it until it becomes stronger than your excuses, or you will starve it until it dies quietly in the background of your life. The disciplined monster knows that every habit he keeps alive grows into armor. Armor that no setback, no failure, no criticism can penetrate. That armor begins here with one choice, one action, one habit. So as you stand here at the start, I am not asking you to change your entire life. I am asking you to become ruthless about one thing. Choose it. Commit to it. And in the days ahead, when we move deeper into this journey, you will see how this one habit will become the foundation upon which an unstoppable identity is built. The first days of a new habit are intoxicating. You feel the rush of possibility. The simple act of doing something different makes you feel like a man reborn. You walk taller. You tell yourself, this time, it's different. And for a while, it is. The mornings feel brighter. The resistance is quiet. Your will feels like an unstoppable force. But make no mistake, this is not discipline. This is novelty. And novelty, like a match struck in the dark, burns bright but quickly fades. Around the 10th day, sometimes earlier, sometimes later, a shadow begins to creep in. The voice in your mind, subtle at first, persuasive in its softness, begins to whisper, "You've done well. You've earned a break. One day won't hurt." That voice has destroyed more dreams than failure ever has. It is not here to give you rest. It is here to test your resolve. Napoleon-Hill wrote that every man faces invisible resistance when he steps toward his purpose. That resistance is intelligent. It knows your weaknesses. It knows your triggers. And it will disguise itself as kindness. Take it easy. You've done enough. This is where most men die in the pursuit of greatness. Not with a crash, but with a sigh. They trade the fire of commitment for the comfort of delay. And here's the tragedy. The habit was still in its infancy. It was not yet strong enough to survive on its own. Habits are like seedlings. In the early days, they are fragile. A single storm, a bad night's sleep, a stressful day, an unexpected distraction, can uproot them completely. You must protect your new habit as if it were a newborn child. You wouldn't leave an infant unattended, hoping it survives on its own. You would shield it from the cold. You would feed it, tend to it, guard it from harm. Do the same with your habit. Remove every possible source of friction. If your habit is to wake up and train, lay out your clothes the night before. Prepare the space. Set the alarm far from your bed, so you must rise to turn it off. Reduce the number of decisions between you and the habit to 0. In these fragile early days, your environment is your ally or your assassin. And understand this: discipline is not forged when it's easy. It is forged in the moments when the weight of comfort presses down on you and you refuse to yield. These moments are pure gold. They are the exact points where your old self and your new self meet. In battle, every time you choose the habit over comfort, you are not just completing a task. You are sending a message to your subconscious. I am a man who keeps his word. This identity shift is the real work. The habit is merely the tool. And the first 30 days are sacred because they are the period in which your self-image is either upgraded or left unchanged. If you quit here, you are not simply losing the habit. You are teaching yourself that your own promises are negotiable. That lesson, once learned, will poison every future attempt at discipline. Consider the analogy of a fortress. In the beginning, your habit is nothing more than a wooden fence around a small camp. A determined wind could blow it over. But each day you complete the habit, you replace a plank with stone. You dig deeper foundations. You raise towers. 30 days of unwavering execution builds walls high enough to keep mediocrity out. But one day of neglect can leave the gate wide open, and your old patterns will storm in without mercy. The discipline monster knows this. He treats the early days like war. He understands that his greatest enemy is not the difficulty of the task, but the seduction of the excuse. He knows that comfort is a clever liar, promising rest while delivering regression. So he wages war against it every single day without negotiation. He does not rely on motivation. He builds momentum. He knows motivation is like the wind, unpredictable, temporary, beyond his control. Momentum, however, is man-made. It is built through consistency, and once it's rolling, it makes action easier than an action dot. To survive the fragile stage, you must adopt the principle of never miss twice. Missing once can be recovered from. Missing twice in a row begins a pattern. Patterns, once formed, become habits, and you are trying to form the opposite pattern. So when you stumble, and you will, your only focus is to return the next day with even greater force. This is how you deny the enemy the satisfaction of a foothold. Another weapon in your arsenal is stacking. Attach your new habit to something you already do without fail. If you drink coffee every morning, place your journal next to the coffee machine so that writing becomes inseparable from the act of pouring. If you brush your teeth at night, place your book on the bathroom counter so that reading becomes linked to the ritual of closing your day. The mind loves association. Use it to your advantage. And remember, you are not yet a disciplined monster. Not yet. Right now, you are a man in training. You are building armor. Every completed day adds a new plate of steel to that armor, making you harder to break. Every skipped day leaves a gap that the enemy can exploit. Your job in this stage is to protect the habit until it no longer needs your constant defense. It will not be glamorous. There will be no applause. No one will congratulate you for showing up when you didn't feel like it. The world does not cheer for the early stages, but the universe is watching, and it rewards the man who can endure the boredom, the discomfort, and the silence without betraying his commitment. The man you will become is being forged right now. In these quiet battles no one sees. And one day, when the habit has grown strong. When discipline has become your default, people will call you lucky or gifted or naturally disciplined. Let them believe it. You will know the truth. It was built here in the fragile stage when no one was watching, and the only applause was the voice inside you saying, I showed up again. Asterisk. There is a point in every man's journey where the habit no longer feels like something he is doing. It feels like something he is. This is the crossing point, the invisible bridge between trying to be disciplined and being disciplined. But this bridge is not reached by accident. It is crossed only through relentless repetition, through the refusal to negotiate with the self, through winning enough small battles that the war begins to tilt in your favor. Up until now, your habit has required conscious effort. Each morning, you must decide to do it. Each day, you must overcome inertia. But when you cross this bridge, the dynamic changes. You no longer drag yourself to the habit drags you. It feels incomplete not to perform it. The absence of the habit creates discomfort, like missing a meal or skipping a night's sleep. This is when you know you've crossed into new territory. The science behind this is simple but profound. Your brain loves efficiency. It seeks to automate whatever you do repeatedly. In the beginning, this works against you. It automates laziness, distraction, and procrastination. But when you repeat a powerful habit long enough, the brain rewires itself to make it automatic. This is the foundation of identity-based discipline. You are no longer pushing against resistance. You are moving with the current of your own mind. Napoleon-Hill wrote often about the subconscious mind being your greatest servant or your most dangerous enemy. The moment your habit becomes part of your identity, your subconscious mind begins to serve you without resistance. You are no longer the man who tries to wake up early. You are an early riser. You are no longer the man who forces himself to train. You are an athlete. You are no longer the man who reminds himself to read. You are a reader. This identity shift is the real prize of discipline, because once the mind accepts something as part of who you are, it becomes infinitely harder to break. However, crossing into identity-based discipline is not without its own dangers. The first danger is complacency. Many men, having reached this stage, relax their vigilance. They believe that because the habit feels natural now, it will sustain itself forever. But identity is like a sharpened blade. It remains strong only through continual honing. Stop tending to it, and rust will form. And once rust takes hold, even the strongest blade can break. The second danger is pride. When the habit becomes part of you, you will notice changes others cannot ignore. You will carry yourself differently. Your confidence will grow. People will comment on your discipline, your consistency, your results. And here lies a subtle trap you begin to mistake. Recognition for mastery. You think the applause means you've arrived. But discipline is not a destination. It's a practice. The moment you believe you have arrived, you loosen your grip. And loosening your grip, even slightly, allows the old self to begin its slow return. The discipline monster understands that the bridge between effort and identity is one he must cross daily. Even when the habit feels automatic, he reinforces it deliberately. He does not take it for granted. He treats it as sacred, because he knows the moment he stops protecting it, entropy will set in. Think of a great cathedral. It takes years to build, stone by stone, with painstaking precision. Once built, it stands as a marvel. But even the strongest cathedral requires maintenance. If the roof leaks, if the foundation cracks, if weeds grow unchecked, the structure will eventually collapse. Your habit is no different. The fact that it is strong today does not guarantee it will be strong tomorrow. Strength is a function of continual investment. One of the most powerful tools at this stage is ritual reinforcement. Even if your habit now feels effortless, create rituals around it to keep it anchored in your identity. For example, if your habit is training, keep a logbook and review it weekly. If your habit is writing, read your work aloud each night as a way to close the day. If your habit is studying, teach what you've learned to someone else. These reinforcements turn the habit into a pillar of your life that is tied to emotion, memory, and pride in execution. Another tactic the discipline monster uses is progressive challenge. Once the habit is solid, he raises the standard. If he has been running 3 miles each morning, he moves to 4. If he has been meditating for 10 minutes, he moves to 15. This is not about chasing extremes. It's about signaling to himself that the habit is alive, growing, and evolving. A stagnant habit will eventually lose its edge. An evolving habit keeps the mind engaged and the identity sharp. At this point, you may notice something strange. Your discipline begins to bleed into other areas of your life without conscious effort. Because your identity is now tied to being a man who follows through, you will naturally begin to follow through in unrelated areas. If you are disciplined in your training, you will find it easier to be disciplined in your work. If you are disciplined in your reading, you will find it easier to be disciplined in your finances. This is the compounding effect of identity-based discipline. One strong pillar supports the entire structure of your life. But perhaps the most profound shift at this stage is the way you handle adversity. The average man sees adversity as a threat. The disciplined monster sees it as a test. Because his identity is tied to showing up no matter the conditions, he meets resistance with calm determination. A missed opportunity? He returns to the habit. A setback in business? He returns to the habit. Personal loss? He returns to the habit. This constancy makes him unshakable. Life can throw storms at him, but he will always find his footing because the habit is the anchor that holds him steady. This is why one habit can change everything, because when it becomes who you are, it gives you a framework for responding to every challenge life will throw at you. And here's the irony. By the time others notice your discipline, you will no longer feel the need to talk about it. The results will speak for themselves. You will not feel the urge to explain, to justify, to prove. Your life will be the proof. So, the crossing point is both an arrival and a new beginning. You have reached the stage where the habit no longer demands constant willpower to maintain. But you have also reached the stage where the real work begins, the work of protecting, reinforcing, and evolving it so that it remains a living part of you. The disciplined monster does not cross the bridge and stop walking. He crosses it and begins building another bridge and another until there is no part of his life untouched by the discipline he has forged. The man you are now is stronger than the man who began this journey. But strength, like muscle, must be used to be maintained. And so, tomorrow, you will wake and do it again, not because you must, but because it is who you are. There is a truth few will tell you. Reaching a high level of discipline is far easier than maintaining it for life. The climb demands energy, focus, and sacrifice, yes, but the summit demands eternal vigilance. Because the moment you rise above the average man, the world begins pulling you back down. Not always with malice, but with the constant, quiet pressure of mediocrity, disguised as normal life. Once your discipline is forged and your identity is anchored, the danger shifts from weakness to erosion. Erosion is slow. It's subtle. It doesn't announce itself with a crash. It seeps in through small allowances. I'll do it later. I've been consistent. I can skip today. This isn't a big deal. And before you know it, the habit that once defined you is now something you used to do. This is the silent death of greatness. The disciplined monster understands that to remain in power, He must operate in two realms, the external realm of actions and the internal realm of thought. In the external realm, he maintains the habit no matter what. Weather, mood, travel, illness, none of these are allowed to break the chain. But in the internal realm, he remains vigilant against the seduction of comfort. Because comfort is the true enemy here. It doesn't attack you when you're weak. It attacks you when you're strong. Think of an ancient fortress atop a hill. The walls are thick. The gates are locked. The defenders are well trained. No army could breach it with a single strike. But what if, over the years, the guards grow complacent? What if they begin leaving the gates open during the day, just for a bit of fresh air? What if they stop walking the walls at night, trusting that no enemy would dare attack? The fortress may still look impenetrable from the outside, but inside, its security is gone. One day, without warning, the enemy walks right in. Your habit, your discipline, is that fortress. It doesn't collapse because of one bad day. It collapses because of many small permissions given to weakness, until the structure that once held you high above average no longer exists. The discipline monster prevents this by maintaining what I call ritualized vigilance. This means creating systems that force him to stay sharp even when things are going well. One such system is accountability to self. This is not about telling others your goals. It's about tracking your execution in a way that cannot be ignored. The discipline monster keeps a record of his habits, whether in a journal, a calendar, or a digital log. Not to celebrate streaks, but to have a clear, unbroken chain of evidence. If a single day is missed, it's visible. There is no hiding from it. This creates an unyielding standard. The day doesn't feel complete until the record is updated. With proof of action, another system is planned discomfort. When life becomes too smooth, the discipline monster deliberately introduces friction to prevent himself from going soft. He might train in harsher conditions, work without certain conveniences, or fast from pleasures he could easily afford. This is not about punishment, it's about maintaining the edge. Because the moment you lose your edge, life will test you in a way you are not ready for. And readiness is not built in the moment of crisis. It is built in the quiet days. Before it, the discipline monster also guards his environment with ruthless precision. He understands that discipline is not merely an act of willpower, it is a function of proximity. If you are surrounded by people who normalize weakness, you will eventually lower your standards to fit in. If you are in spaces where distraction is constant, your focus will erode. So he constructs his environment as a fortress, tools and reminders of his mission in clear sight, temptations out of reach, allies who demand the best of him close at hand. Perhaps most importantly, the discipline monster refuses to let his identity become static. This may sound contradictory. Isn't the whole point to become the man who lives this habit effortlessly? Yes, but here's the truth. Identity that is fixed becomes brittle. The moment you believe you have fully arrived, you stop evolving. And the world, the universe, reality itself, it never stops moving. If you stop growing, you are already falling behind. To combat this, the discipline monster continually sets new challenges. Not to chase vanity metrics or impress others, but to expand the boundaries of who he is. If his habit was once 30 minutes of reading, he might study a subject far outside his expertise. If his habit was once physical training, he might prepare for a new type of event that forces him to adapt. In doing so, he ensures that discipline remains a living force, not a museum piece. There is also a spiritual dimension here, one that Napoleon-Hill hinted at when he spoke of infinite intelligence. The discipline monster sees himself not as the final cause of his success, but as a steward of a gift. The ability to command oneself, to shape one's destiny through consistent action, is not something to hoard. It is something to honor. He understands that his discipline is a message to the universe. I am ready for more. And the universe, always watching, responds by increasing his capacity, his opportunities, his reach. But here's the paradox. The higher you rise, the fewer external tests you face, and the more internal tests you must pass. When you're starting out, the challenge is obvious. Fight laziness, break old patterns, prove you can show up. When you're established, the challenge is subtle. Fight complacency, maintain sharpness, prove you can remain unstoppable when there's no crisis to push against. This is why the disciplined monster never waits for life to test him. He tests himself. He wakes before dawn not because he must, but because it reinforces the truth. I am in control of my actions. He trains on days when there is no event to prepare for, simply to prove he can. He continues the habit not for the result. The result is already his, but for the man it keeps him from becoming if he lets go. The invisible kingdom he rules is not visible to the masses. They see the results, the body, the wealth, the calm under pressure, but they do not see the unbroken chain of small acts that maintain it. They do not see the daily choices that, to him, are as non-negotiable as breathing. And he prefers it this way, because the disciplined monster knows that his strength lies not in the admiration of others, but in the unshakable covenant he has made with himself. I will never return to the man I was before. There comes a moment, and it may take months or years to reach, when you realize that going back is no longer possible. Not because someone forbids it, not because circumstances make it impossible, but because you, in the deepest part of your being, know that the man you used to be is gone. You have burned the bridge. There is no safe return to mediocrity, no comfort in old patterns. You have crossed into a place where discipline is not a choice. It is oxygen. This is the point of no return. The place where men of average resolve never arrive. And the reason they never arrive is simple. They never truly close the door on who they were. They leave it slightly open, just in case they want to rest, just in case they want to quit, just in case they want to let go of the standard they worked so hard to build. And because that door remains open, life will eventually push them back through it. The disciplined monster, however, does the opposite. He seals the door shut, locks it, and throws away the key, not because he is reckless, but because he understands a truth most refuse to face. You cannot fully commit to the man you are becoming while still making space for the man you used to be. You must kill him, his habits, his excuses, his identity. Every trace of him must be erased, not with anger, but with absolute clarity that he no longer serves you. From here forward, life becomes different. You no longer wake up asking, will I do the habit today? The question is gone. The action is inevitable. You no longer negotiate with yourself. You no longer weigh the pros and cons. You act because action is the only language you speak. This is freedom. Not the freedom to do whatever you feel like, but the freedom from the tyranny of your weaker impulses. Napoleon-Hill wrote that every man is the master of his fate when he becomes the master of his mind. At this stage, you are no longer the servant of moods, weather, or convenience. You are the master of rhythm, of routine, of relentless forward motion. And because you have removed choice from the equation, you have removed hesitation, delay, and regret. This is the ultimate power of discipline. It transforms effort into inevitability. But here is the deeper reward, and it is one most men will never taste. The peace of knowing you can trust yourself completely. The world may change. Circumstances may shift. People may betray you, but you will not betray yourself. You will not be the weak link in your own life. That peace is worth more than gold, more than applause, more than any recognition you could receive. From this point on, your mission changes. You no longer fight to become disciplined. You fight to remain uncheckable. You do not chase improvement for vanity's sake, but because you understand that life's true tests often come without warning. And when they come, you will meet them with the calm certainty of a man who has been training for this moment every single day of his life. You will also notice something remarkable. Your discipline will inspire others without you even trying. They will watch you. They will wonder how you keep going. They will ask for your secret. And though you can tell them about habits, about systems, about willpower, you will know the truth. The real secret is that you never let yourself go back. You made a choice once, and you've been proving it every day since. And so, as you stand here, at the point of no return, the question is no longer, how do I stay disciplined? The question is, how far can I go? Because discipline, once mastered, is not the finish line. It is the foundation. It is the launch pad for everything else you want in life. Wealth, health, influence, freedom. All of it becomes possible because you have mastered the one thing most men never will: yourself. Universe has been watching. It has tested you in silence. It has observed you when no one was looking. And now it knows you are ready for more. Opportunities will begin to appear that once seemed out of reach. Doors will open that you didn't even know existed. People will arrive who match your new frequency. This is not magic. This is alignment, the natural result of living in absolute integrity with the man you said you would become. So here is the final command. Protect this. Guard it with everything you have. Do not allow the world to seduce you back into comfort. Do not allow weakness to dress itself as rest. Do not allow the old self to sneak back in through a side door. This is your kingdom now. You built it brick by brick, habit by habit, day by day. You owe it to yourself to defend it. And if you ever feel the pull of the old life, remember this. You are only one day away from losing what took years to build. But you are also only one habit away from becoming even more unstoppable than you are now. The choice will always be yours. Choose the habit. Choose the standard. Choose the man who never goes back. Now, before you go, hear me clearly. The fact that you've listened this far tells me you are ready to step fully into this identity. But discipline without commitment is a wasted gift. So I'm going to ask you for a small act of discipline right now, one that will take you less than 10 seconds, but will mark the start of your next level. Hit that subscribe button. Turn on the notifications so you never miss a day of training for your mind. And share this message with one man you know who is ready to stop living average. Because the journey doesn't end here. This is only the beginning. And if you keep showing up every day without fail, the world will have no choice but to see you for what you truly are, a man who cannot be stopped.